Hello, everyone, and welcome to yet another edition of Fan Fuel Motorsports Podcast, the podcast where fans feel talk about motorsport. Today is our 52nd episode, and that means that you can listen to us one day a week for a whole year, and I think that's pretty monumental, if I do say so myself. I'm Alex Harrington. I'm joined, as always, by Colton Cranmore, Nathan Ball, and Jared Bakaisa, who is back after a short time away from us. And tonight we will be joined a little bit later by Brandon Hutchinson, president of Atlanta Motor Speedway, to be previewing this weekend's action at the track, what that means for fans, what the racing product is going to look like, and some more. But, let's go ahead and get into what happened this weekend while we wait for him to show up in about 15 minutes and talk about some Phoenix racing. So just an open discussion, anything that you guys want to talk about.
Oh, man. First
Phoenix
of all,
is terrible.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah. So, I don't think Phoenix is bad. I just think the PJ1 moved the lane up a groove to where there's no point in having multiple grooves if everyone wants to go to the top because you can't make a pass in the bottom if the top lane's dominant. So it's just that's kind of tough.
That's basically what we said for an entire hour and a half episode last year.
Yeah,
after the championship race. So
we gotta just let it happen, but we can't because now it's staying permanently, probably. So
yeah. So I don't know.
What I was gonna say is that we have a shout out to one of our former guests, Raja Karuth. He finished, I think, 4th in the ARCA race, and he was 2nd at one point. So that was pretty cool because I had only seen him at Daytona because he's doing the full season for ARCA, and it was on MAV TV. So I was like, why don't I just check it out? And sure enough, that was pretty cool.
Yeah, and we've seen that kid wheel the hell out of some cars, make some incredible saves last year, specifically at Bristol the week before we got to talk to him. And that was pretty fucking awesome, if I do say so myself. But I do want to challenge you, Colton. I don't think that race was that bad. I thought it was a very procedural Phoenix race, and I argued with some people on Twitter that long run at the end would have been much better had it not been cut short by Eric Jones for the second week in a row.
No, I agree. I jumped in the group chat as soon as that happened and kind of said my piece about how I wanted a long run to finish it. I don't think the race was terrible. I don't like the track. I hate how they ruined it with the sanding out, and now everyone. I mean, when they had grass, you used to actually have to work around people, and now it's just you can let off.
I don't have a problem with the dog leg. It's just turns 1 and 2 is the problem because without the PJ1, you could see guys kind of move around a little bit. There wasn't a particular dominant line. Whereas now it seems like it took the top and just made it dominant to where you saw it on the long run. You'd be faster than a guy, and once you got to them, you'd have to go to the bottom because they were on the top. You'd go to the bottom. You couldn't get around them. Like, you just couldn't do it.
I'd rather see them cut the dog leg up a little bit and leave 1 and 2 the way it is. Just because, if you look at Phoenix, you look at the shape of the track, you're completely cutting the shape and the character off of the track.
Right, but it just turns 1 and 2. That's a big passing zone with the traction compound and all that stuff. If you take that traction compound away, you'll have guys run multiple lanes like you saw years earlier.
Yeah, no, I have no problem with 1 and 2. It's really the dog leg that I don't like. I wish
I had worse of a problem with the PJ1 in 1 and 2. That was my main issue.
The PJ1's different. Just the configuration itself. If they cut that big gap of the dog leg just in half, like from the pit wall up until the outside wall, I'd be fine. Cut it a car length or 2 off of the racing surface. I'm fine with it. I hate this. You're cutting 1/8 of a mile off the track.
Jared, do you have anything to add to this before I get in?
I know he's one of. I know. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say I thought it was funny. Like the whole pre-race, they were talking about like, oh, I don't think people are gonna cut that off because of the rear diffuser, and then like lap 1, Kyle Busch takes it the whole way down to the bottom. Yeah. And like, oh, Clint Boyer thought it was like
I think it's like
in the world whenever that happened.
That was funny.
So
I thought it was like go ahead.
For me, I don't mind the dog leg being cut. I love them having the options and stuff like that. However, once we added the PJ1, we saw the racing get shunted. I'm sorry. I thought the racing was fine there from 2011 in the fall, or 2010 in the fall, I should say, all the way up to PJ1 being added in 2018. I thought the racing was phenomenal there. I love 1 mile tracks, even Gateway is probably going to be phenomenal in my opinion, just because they're drivers' tracks. The thing that I had the most problem with is when they reprofiled 1 and 2, it's got a lot more banking. And since the PJ1 is there now, having that banking up higher with the wider arc makes the bottom literally just useless. And I know that's what you guys have been saying, specifically Nathan, but I think that and then putting the start finish line where they have made the races since they moved to start finish line a lot more worse. I do enjoy them going, 8 wide. I think it's, just something cool. Like when you saw that same thing at Pocono with Indy cars, like it's just something cool to see. It's something different, but it's a track that used to be a driver's track that really has been shunted because of what you guys are talking about with the PJ1. What did you guys think of the winner, though? And I'll get on to my opinions on that in a little bit.
Yeah. Well, I thought it was pretty cool to see because, for a long time, it seemed like Stewart-Haas was kind of struggling a little bit. And, not many of their cars could do anything outside of Harvick to where the point where he was kind of just not even an SHR car. He was just that much better. So now we got 2022. We've had Almirola get in the top 10 almost every race. He was very close to doing that at Phoenix, but he didn't. You had Briscoe winning a race. You had Harvick running the top 3. So I thought it was pretty cool because it means that Stewart-Haas is back as an organization. Like, it's not just Kevin Harvick now. Like, I think it's important because it shows that the whole team can do something now.
Yeah, I thought the winner was pretty cool. I saw a cool stat. I think it was 1969 was the last time that the top 3 finishers were winless going into the race. It's always cool seeing like the top 3, those top 3, like that's something cool. That's pretty cool. Plus it was like Ross Chastain was up there. He's been doing good the last couple of weeks, so it's like no fluke that he's doing well. So that's another team that I've been enjoying to see. He's going to end up getting a win here sooner than later. I would imagine.
You know what the best thing about that finish was Jared mentioned it. You have 3 guys running top 3, all looking for their first win, and none of them, hint Austin Cindric, had to put anyone on the fucking fence to do it. They all
here he is getting mad about it. I know you're the Blaney fan. You're probably mad that your pit crew cost him like 10 spots in that, but
Phoenix is a wash, man. I still won picks, so I'm not too upset about it. I'm still mad that we didn't get a Daytona 500 because our teammate put us in the fence.
Hey,
there ain't no teammates in the last.
The only thing that I can say is the same thing I said at Daytona. I'm glad that we're going to have a teammate rivalry. That's something we've been missing for quite some years, and it is very apparent that Ryan Blaney does not like Austin Cindric, even though I am a fan of both of them. So that is what it is. For me, the winner was pretty good. We saw Chase Briscoe do well. We've known that he's been a talent that's been there for quite some time, despite the fact that he's raced a lot less than a lot of the guys that he's racing against. He is older by a few months than Chase Elliott, who was a Cup champion. And it's cool to finally see some of these guys like he and Josh Berry do a non-traditional way up, do it a little bit later in life as well. But I do want to say I was bummed that Tyler Reddick, yet again, did not get a win. Close as he could be. Ross Chastain put on a hell of a show. Trackhouse and that number 8 car are going to be 3 guys that will get their first wins this season. All the 99, the 1, and the 8 will be winners. One of them is going to be multiple time winners. I guarantee that. But I do want to say we almost saw Chase Elliott win his first race of the season, and I fought tooth and nail with some people on Twitter about this. Had that long run went, that long run car was the 9, not the 14. Chase was getting through lap traffic a lot better than Chase Briscoe, and Elliott would have leaped him in that lap traffic and won that race. And I think we would have not all enjoyed it just because Chase won. And
I would have been fine.
And the rest of NASCAR would have just adored it because Chase won. So it's very interesting to see how momentum swings as far as the fans go, whether or not they like a race, just on who wins.
I've always tried to avoid being that guy. Like, if a race is fun, I'll just enjoy it no matter who wins.
I think even if we got that long run, I think even like Harvick and Chastain were still catching them too. So we could have seen like a 4-car battle for the win at the end.
Yeah. And so with that, I want to say some stuff. I'll let Colton go ahead, say he's got a point to make, and then I've got to pick Nathan's head on something before we get Brandon on here.
Yeah, so I do. Someone pointed out on Twitter after the race on Sunday that all of the top 3 finishers, and I think it was like 4 of the top 10, were all drivers for BK Racing in the Truck Series at one point.
Brad Keselowski Racing.
Yep, and so it just shows you the eye that Brad Keselowski has for talent. Because I mean, the only drivers really that he hired that haven't done much are like Austin Terrio,
ARCA champion.
Yeah, and he was still an ARCA champion. And I mean, shit, he probably won his political election that he was in this last week with the way that past drivers are doing. Yeah. I thought that was super cool, and it kind of gives me some hope for RFK in the future.
Oh yeah,
to know that Keselowski has a super good eye for talent. He's going to know exactly when to bring guys in to help them develop as Cup drivers now. So I thought that was really awesome when I saw that.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. I think it's pretty cool because what if he brings back the Xfinity program? What if he brings back a truck program for Roush? You know, it's good to know that somebody's got somebody.
I think that's something that we would all want too. Like,
we need it.
Roush in Xfinity was something that we had for a long time. That 60 car, I'd love to see it back.
Oh yeah.
And we could see some pretty good drivers getting up the block. I think Brad Keselowski is a genius when it comes to owning businesses and race teams, but I think we all know that I dislike everything else about him. So, anyways, I do want to say NASCAR came out with some rule changes today. They talked about the yellow line rule is going to be in effect all weekend for all 3 series at Atlanta. We thought that was going to happen, but they also came out with a couple of stuff regarding rain and rain races at road courses. So there's a couple of things that happened. And one contradicts the other in that, Nathan, you think that it's great because they are going to not have, competition yellows to change over.
Let me stop you there.
For tires, but
there's a huge but that needs to be addressed here.
Go ahead.
The problem is everyone got super excited at first, like, oh, there's no more mandatory cautions for rain. Drivers get to choose when to take their wet tires. And then they come out and say, oh, well, we need kind of like a mud flap type thing on the back of the cars to prevent spray going up. And the problem is they don't put them on the car at the start of the race. So they might have to throw a caution the moment it rains for the teams to come in and put those rain guards on the fenders, which pretty much erases all the excitement that I had for it.
Yeah. I think it's ridiculous, honestly.
Why don't they just put it on? Why don't they just put the rain guards on the car, whether it's dry or not? Like why can't they just be there?
We have super speedway spec cars, right? They have longer rear bumpers. They have different air ducting and all that stuff than a regular car. Why don't we do the same thing and have a road course spec car
I bet you it's
that has rain flaps?
I bet it's because of aerodynamics. Or teams are like, oh, it's dry. We don't need that. It's going to cost us a couple tenths or whatever. So
okay, everybody in the field's going to have the same thing.
Yeah, I don't understand it. I really don't.
Sometimes we really need to go back to as much as I hate the NASCAR brass. Sometimes listening to the teams and giving them a voice like this is just kind of stupid. Because I guarantee you, Nathan, you're right.
It's just like 1 step forward, 2 steps back, and it's just a repeated process. Like, it took away all the excitement I had about the whole, oh, we might not have cautions for rain anymore.
Yeah. So I won't ask this to the other two, Jared, Colton. Pete Pistone, he says that he would rather get his tooth taken out without any numbing or anything like that. Sandpaper to the skin, whole list of stuff than see stock cars in the rain. And as you two guys are more solely stock car fans, unlike Nathan and I who love rain racing, what do you guys think about that statement? Jared?
I would say just honestly, in my opinion, I would just let them just let the race play out naturally. If teams want to come in and do whatever, then they can. But if not, then they don't have, like, if they're giving them that option, just keep it that way. Like, don't try to add some extra stuff in there, or at least tease that idea of like, hey, we're gonna not. They have the option now, but kind of like what Nathan was saying with the butt there. So I would say just let it happen. Whatever happens, happens. Like, let the race play out naturally.
At road courses only, I'm a fan of damp or wet racing. I think that is fine. I think when you get into what we saw at COTA last year, not a fan of that.
All right. Yeah. And I think we can all agree with that. And it is time to welcome in our guest, Brandon Hutchinson from Atlanta Motor Speedway. So I'm going to go ahead and add him to the stream. And how's it going, Brandon? Thanks for joining us.
Alex, it's going great, man. Listen, I saw you guys sitting in your cool rooms, so I came over here to my 18-year-old son's room so I could be just like the group, man. I'm doing great, man. We're ready to go racing at Atlanta Motor Speedway.
Yeah, well, we are so glad to have you on here tonight, so I appreciate that. And that's great that you got with us. You're looking a little bit better than me. I don't have my flags up this week, so you're doing more than I am for the podcast this week.
Oh, yeah, man. I tell you, my son is one of the biggest fans I know. Of course, he was at his first cup race when he was 6 weeks old. He had a jump on the field. He's always had some pretty cool access. But, hey, man, we're ready to go. The weather forecast looks great. Atlanta Motor Speedway has brand new asphalt, brand new 28-degree banking. We're excited about what's to come this weekend.
Awesome. Well, I guess I'm just going to jump right into it here. So who is Brandon? And tell our listeners a little bit about your role with Atlanta Motor Speedway.
Well, Brandon is a Atlanta native, born and raised in Atlanta. Grew up in North Gwinnett County, graduated from North Gwinnett High School, went to Georgia Southern University. My final quarter at Georgia Southern, I had to do an internship. So when I figured I couldn't be a pro athlete, I wanted to work in pro sports. So took an internship at Atlanta Motor Speedway, got a job right out of college, and started as a track rental coordinator. Have been at Atlanta Motor Speedway for 27 years. Worked hard. Told Ed Clark, my predecessor, when I was an intern, that I wanted his job one day. And, I'm just very fortunate that got the opportunity. And November of 2018 was promoted to Executive Vice President and General Manager of Atlanta Motor Speedway. Worked for Speedway Motorsports my entire life, so it's all I know. And just blessed, man. I'm a customer service guy at heart. I want to make sure that we do our very best to provide great experiences and memories that'll last a lifetime for our fans that choose to come out to the Speedway.
And a lot of that's what we're going to get into with some questions for you tonight. But I do want to go ahead and start off with something I think is the most important part of the track and the new reprofiling, and that's the ODL layer, the drainage layer that you guys have put in. And I've seen all of your social stuff talking about the specifics along the lines of it, but I know it basically is draining the groundwater. And I think the most important question is, do you think that this is going to make the new surface last longer than the 24 years that we got with the previous surface?
Well, that's a great question. ODL stands for open drainage layer, and it's really just a layer of asphalt under the finish asphalt that, if you took a knitted quilt, listen to us talking about knitted quilts. If you took a knitted quilt and stretched it apart, it's easy to put your finger through the quilt. If it's real tight, it's hard to put your fingers through the quilt. So the ODL layer really allows the groundwater that comes up. You hear about the term weepers in racing all the time. It doesn't matter if it's dirt racing or asphalt racing. You've got that groundwater that comes up, and it has to escape somewhere. So it finds the cracks in the asphalt, and that's what causes weepers. Well, this ODL layer allows that water to find a hole, drains it down underneath the finished layer of asphalt, and we installed a corrugated pipe at the base of the apron, so that water has an opportunity to drain out. So it should dry the track quicker. It should eliminate weepers, but let's not mistake. If it rains, the track's going to get wet. We're going to have to bring the jet dryers out. We're going to have to dry the track. So we'll still have some downtime, but hopefully there will be less downtime. So no weepers and quicker to dry the track when it does get wet.
Yeah, I think that's what all fans want, is to have less time for track drying. But The question I'm going to get into is, like, what do you hope to see from, like, the on-track product? And have, like, the last 2 intermediate races made you rethink about the reconfiguration at all?
Haven't second guessed the reconfiguration for 1 second. Our company, Speedway Motorsports, is known for being bold, known for being innovators. You saw us put dirt on Bristol. You saw us take NASCAR to Circuit of the Americas last year. You've seen for the last few years, the Roval at Charlotte Motor Speedway. Speedway Motorsports wants to make sure that we're doing things that are new, special, and different for our fans. We're a world-class racing facility, but at the end of the day, we're an entertainment facility, right? So we want to make sure that we provide the highest level of entertainment we possibly can for our fans. And that's what this new track's going to be. 28 degrees is the steepest intermediate track on the circuit. It's never been done before. Fans have never seen it before. Over the last few weeks, we've seen this new next-gen car produce a pretty cool, good level of racing that we haven't seen in a few years. And think about going into Atlanta Motor Speedway, and not only is it a new track, not only is it a new car, we're all going to learn together just what happens out here. And I'll tell you what, we've ran thousands and thousands of simulated races on iRacing, and we know that's how we landed on 28 degrees. So we know it's going to provide a really, really cool level of excitement for our fans. But great question.
All right. So I'll just go ahead and get into it. So, I mean, a lot of drivers and fans have spoke negatively about the reconfigure early on. How did you and your team handle that negativity? I mean, you kind of alluded to that with your last question. You guys are kind of sticking to your guns, right? And you think it's going to be a great move. But, how have you, from the outside perception, handled that?
Well, listen, we're race fans at heart. We don't want to do anything that's going to take away from the sport. It's not like we enter into these decisions lightly at all. We looked at this for over a year. So, when you're trying to improve the sport, you've seen Ben Kennedy, Steve O'Donnell, Steve Phelps take races to new markets. For goodness sakes, pave the LA Coliseum for the Busch Light Clash. We've made moves in this sport that you haven't seen ever before, and this is just another step. And we are the drivers are the best in the world. There's no doubt in our minds that any challenges that they face, whether it's you see them spinning on Saturday at California and by Sunday nobody's spinning and they've got it figured out. We know that if you put the best drivers in the world on any surface, whether it's 28 degrees at Atlanta Motor Speedway or dirt at Bristol, they're going to figure it out. They're going to provide an exciting level of racing. And we knew that we wanted to do something new, special, and different. And we're confident that this is going to provide just that for the fans. And that's really what it's all about. We're a world-class racing facility. But at the end of the day, we're an entertainment facility. People work hard for their money. They choose where they spend it, whether it's a amusement park, a movie, or a racetrack. We want to do everything we possibly can to make sure they're entertained while they're at our facility. And you're going to see just that this weekend at Atlanta Motor Speedway.
Yeah, and that kind of ties into the next question that I had, and that was, we've seen that drivers have different opinions than fans and so on and so forth. So how hard is it to sort of please the fans that want a good show, and how hard is it to tie that into the drivers who also want to have a track that's fun to drive on?
Well, make no mistake about it. We want to please 100% of the people 100% of the time. It doesn't matter if it's drivers or fans. We've got great relationships with our drivers in the sport. It's important to us that we foster those relationships, but we've also got great relationships with our fans, and we want to make sure that we do everything possible to provide the best possible experience for them as we can. And so, listen, if you got a group of your friends together and ask them a question on any given topic, you're probably going to have 40 or 50% say one thing and 40 or 50% say another. And that's true in racing. So we know going into this, it doesn't matter if we tore up the track, created a 3/4 mile track, if we went to dirt, if we went to true super speedway 2-mile track, you're going to have people weigh in. And I respect every single opinion that has been thrown out about our track, but I will also stick by what we decided to do. And, hey, like I said, we're all going to learn together. Nobody knows. You can talk to the best drivers, the best crew chiefs, or us who are promoters who do this for a living. Nobody really knows what's going to happen this weekend other than what we've seen on the thousands and thousands of simulations that have taken place. And what we've seen is that is going to produce exciting racing.
Yeah, that's a great answer. And one more question from my end is, how close are you to the drivers and teams? Because we saw when the repave was announced, we saw all the drivers give their opinions on that. And I've always wondered, how close are you to all the guys in the industry?
Well, I'm really close to quite a few of them. As you know, a few of them have grown up racing at Atlanta Motor Speedway. David Reagan,
Mhm.
Reed Sorensen, Grant Finger in the truck series, have spent a lot of time talking to Justin Allgaier, spoke to Trevor Bain just today. And, just like any other friend group, you're closer to some than others, but the ones that we're close to, the ones that I'm close to, are excited about the track. They're excited about getting out there. They're excited about a new challenge. Is there a little trepidation about what to expect? Of course. You've never done it before. You've never raced on it before. It's new. It's different. So there's a little hesitancy to really speak to exactly what to expect. But I think, again, these are the best drivers in the world. They'll be able to meet the challenge and provide a high level of racing. And look, this next gen car, as we've seen over the last few weeks, it's taken some figuring out. Look at Trackhouse Racing last week. 2 cars finished in the top 10. Ross Chastain's running great. We're seeing a lot with this new car. We're going to see a lot more at Atlanta Motor Speedway.
So over the offseason, SMI did acquire Dover. And then we've also seen in the past from SMI the reconfigures of Texas and Kentucky kind of go a little south. Does that worry you guys at all? Or is SMI just they've run enough simulations on this that they know what they're going to expect, whereas they might not have done that in the past?
Well, great question. We acquired Dover. We acquired Nashville Super Speedway. So we added 2 really, really good tracks to our portfolio. But, there's always questions in the back of your mind, what if? But at the end of the day, when you run a business, you make decisions, you stick to your decisions, you're all in. And I can tell you that we're all in. We started taking safer barrier down just after the checkered flag flew for the Quaker State 400 presented by Walmart in July. And we've been hard at it since that time. The Goodyear tire test took place in January. And I will tell you that I'm not going to sit here and lie to you. I'm human just like you guys. There's times that you think about, well, gosh, man, what if we don't get this right? But at the end of the day, I know with the technology in place and the simulations that have been done, we did our homework, we stick by it, and we're very, very excited to see what takes place this weekend.
Yeah, so getting away from the on-track action, what kind of changes do you expect from the fan experience for this weekend? Is there any new things happening or anything different for the fans to do outside of the track before the race?
NASCAR is going to, thank goodness we got practice and qualifying back, right? There's 3 days of on-track action that we know NASCAR is going to do a very good job of putting forth for the fans. We work real hard to do everything we can to make sure that when cars are not on track, fans get as much bang for their buck as they possibly can. So fans are going to have an opportunity to drive their own cars on track on Friday night from 7 to 10 p.m. Get to see the new high banks up close and personal. Families in the campgrounds are going to have an opportunity to watch Cars, the movie, in the Legends campground. Free bocce ball, free cornhole, free popcorn, free candy, free Cokes, free movie. On Saturday, we're bringing the party back to the infield. It's going to be a big time. We've got a band playing. We've got a laser light show. We've got mechanical bulls. We've got cornhole. We've got a pedal bar, so you'll be able to pedal around the track with your favorite drink to see the high banks up close and personal. it's all going to culminate with a big fireworks show at 11 o'clock. On Sunday, if you didn't get a chance to drive the track on Friday night, you're going to have a chance to walk the track. All the benefits go to Speedway Children's Charities. We got Georgia's own Travis Denning that's going to play the pre-race concert. So, and that doesn't even start to talk about the fan zone. The fan zone is going to have carnival rides, the kids zone, the quick trip fan stage, driver engagements all throughout the day. So again, those that choose to come out to Atlanta Motor Speedway, I can promise you we've worked very hard to make sure they have a great experience. I hope fans will choose to come out and camp with us, but I will tell you, I was just on the phone with our director of ticket operations. There's not a lot of tickets left for Atlanta Motor Speedway this weekend. So hopefully fans will go to AtlantaMotorspeedway.com and buy some tickets and come out and see us. It's going to be a big time.
Yeah, so I do want to butt in. I've been going to Atlanta basically my whole life, as you know, Brandon, with my dad working for you guys. I mean, I've had the privilege from you guys to be in the garage and pit area since probably about 2010 when he started working there. And I got to say, you guys do a lot to help make the fan activities off the track and make them very good. Accessibility to the drivers is one of the biggest things that I love about Atlanta Motor Speedway infield, especially if you're on the backside of the garage area during practice. That's something I'm excited to see. Like you said, we have that back. But sounds like it's going to be a really good weekend. I do want to just shout out to you guys that we appreciate as fans everything that you're doing. And then I think, Colton, you have the next question.
Yeah, so Alex brought this up to me. I've never been to Atlanta. I'm going in July. It'd be my first ever race at Atlanta Motor Speedway. But I have heard rumors that there might be another layer of asphalt added before that race. Is there any truth at all to that?
Yeah. Well, shame on you to start with for not having been to Atlanta Motor Speedway before now. You know,
I'm all the way out in Wyoming. It's hard.
Well, hey, you know, listen, Hartsfield Atlanta Airport is 2 hours from anywhere. So get on that airplane, come see us. But we're glad to see you in July. You know, right now we're very pleased with the finished product that we have on the track. The drivers seem to like it a lot. So, you know, hey, if the drivers were to get out on the track and find something they didn't like, then we would address it. We've already ground down a couple of bumps from the tests that they've seen. But for right now, I can tell you we've put a lot of time, energy, and effort into the track, and we're just looking forward to the Folds of Honor Quick Trip 500 and know that it's going to provide a great product for our fans. So anything beyond that would be just speculation, and I prefer not to speculate because we got a race coming up this weekend that we think is going to be just fine.
Absolutely.
Yeah, unfortunately, I haven't been down to Atlanta either. I'm up here in Pennsylvania, but I'm hoping to come down also this summer. So that'll be something. But the big word you're using tonight is like entertainment. So that kind of leads me to the one question I have. I remember last year or the year before, there was like this big rumor about how Atlanta was going to get like a casino and amusement park and like this huge property thing around the track. Since we got the track redone and reconfigured and stuff, is that like phase one, and then maybe the next phase having like that casino, the amusement park, and stuff around there, and to just have one giant property around there for everyone?
Well, we certainly hope so. You know, gaming has to be legalized in the state of Georgia for that to happen. I can tell you that we're working hard with the state legislature. They're in session right now. We're talking to them every day. Looks like there might be some movement on sports betting, which would clear the path a little bit easier for casino gaming. But we are interested in a destination resort. So we're not interested in just brick and mortar casino. We're interested in a casino, different activities, whether it's shopping, hotels, go-kart racing, activities that are built around the casino that our fans could enjoy when they chose to come to Atlanta Motor Speedway for a NASCAR race or any other activity. You know, we do Supercross, we do Monster Jam. There's a lot of stuff that we've got going on, but we certainly hope so. We've got a lot of people that are interested in partnering with us if that were to come to fruition. But I will tell you, we just have to stand by, see what the legislature does. It'd have to be legalized in the state of Georgia before that could happen. But if it is legalized, I would tell you we're positioned very, very well to get one of the few licenses that would be allowed in the state of Georgia.
Well, that sounds awesome. I think we're all kind of patiently awaiting that. I know that, you know, that's basically how Kansas Speedway had made a town basically out of where they did that same thing. So it's a proven model. It's something that I think every one of us would enjoy. But I being as close to the racetrack as I am, and being that my dad is a part of your Legends program there for Thursday Night Thunder, I know that you guys have made some updates to the Thunder Ring and repaved even the infield road course section that you guys use in the winter races. So there's supposedly a 3/4 mile Thunder Ring now, or a little bit longer than your 1/4 mile, I should say, maybe a 1/2 mile. So what is that new addition that we see from the images?
Well, it's cool. It's a 1/3 mile. So
yeah,
it's a 1/3 mile. It's longer than the 1/4 mile that we had. It's right there on the front stretch as well. We just had our first Legends race on the 1/3 mile about 2 weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago, and I will tell you, Alex, it's cool to watch. It's fun to watch. It might be a little harder from your dad as a.
Oh, we're losing you there.
But it's a cool experience for our racers, and just a lot different. Something we've wanted to do for a while. Ken Reagan would have had us create 5 different Legends tracks, but we're starting with 1, and hopefully it'll be something that'll spawn into maybe a couple more.
So something that he and my dad, that being said, have talked about with this 1/3 mile, being that it is larger than the 1/4 mile.
Can y'all hear me? I can't hear you.
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Right, we can hear him.
We can hear you. Can you hear us? You got us? Sorry about the technical difficulties, everyone. Can you hear us now, Brendan? All right. He's probably got a notification or something on his phone, just like we've had with past guests. All right. And he's out. So,
he got sick of our questions.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
He said he would be here for about 30 minutes. So we still got about 10 more minutes.
We got 10 minutes, damn it.
So he'll be coming back. I think we're having a fantastic conversation. I do like that we are talking to a track representative, but he is not giving us too many PR answers.
Right.
So I really appreciate that.
Am I back?
There we go.
All right.
Yeah.
We've got you back. Can you hear us now?
I can hear you now. I don't know what happened.
I'm not sure, but we got you now, so it should be good. But what I was getting to was my dad and I have been speculating some stuff. Is there any possibility that we see some bigger cars other than the Legends on that 1/3 mile track, like a late model or super late model race in the near future?
I would love it. Absolutely would love it. Unfortunately, pit wall's too short. If you put a late model car up against pit wall, the tires are higher than the wall. So if you got out on that 1/3 mile in a late model, I just don't know if it would work. Never say never. I might put some tire packs in front of pit wall. That might narrow down the backstretch too much, but it's something I want to do. It'd be exciting to see, no doubt.
All right. Well, if there's anything that we fans can do to help, we would love to get that. Anything. I know Jared's got some questions, and then we'll probably have some fan questions as well before we get you out of here.
Yeah, one question I had is, since Atlanta got their second date back, is there any chances of a night race happening anytime soon? I know I used to I grew up watching like those early 2010s races at like the Labor Day weekend races, and I always loved the racing at night, and I was wondering if that'll ever come back.
I love night racing. I'd love to see a night race at Atlanta Motor Speedway. Never say never, but right now we're just thrilled to have the second race back in July, and it's a 3:00 race in July. I know it's hot, but it could be worse. It could be a February race, right? So, never say never, but not in the plans for right now.
Yeah, I think that's more up to networks than you guys anyways. So hopefully we can get a network on the same line as some of us fans, because that July race is going to be a swelter this year. It was a little bit on the cool side last year because we got that overnight rain. But time to chime into one of these fan questions, and I'm going to hose in my dad for this one because he's got a really good question for you. Chad Harrington says, which race stands out to you, Brandon, at AMS that was not the November 1999 or 1992 race where Petty retired and Gordon started?
March 2001. No doubt about it. You know, there's been a lot of great races at Atlanta Motor Speedway, a lot of good finishes at Atlanta Motor Speedway. I think in 07, there was a great one with Johnson as well. But that March 2001 race where Kevin Harvick won his first Cup race just a few weeks after we lost Dale Earnhardt was pretty special. Heartwarming for us to see. It was that one stands out among all others as one that's really special to me.
Yeah, I think we can all agree with that. For me, I would say it would be the Carl Edwards race that he won there with Jimmy Johnson, because we got to see the flip. Even though we were on the back straightaway, we could see it. That was the coolest thing when I was a kid coming up there. We got another fan, Cody Powers from the Left Turn Cult podcast, says that AMS hospitality is over every other track that I've visited. So just wanted to shout you guys out for that. And, you know, thank you guys for doing that, because you do have one of the best track experiences that I think I've had in NASCAR.
Well, listen, you know, one of the things I said when we first started talking tonight is I'm a customer service guy, and I tell our team, and that's what it is. It's a team. It's not a staff. It's not me. It's not us. It's not them. It's we. You know, I want to make sure that we are the most hospitable track on the circuit. And, you know, when you have that many people come to your facility, you're gonna have issues from time to time, but those are opportunities for us to do better. Those are opportunities for us to engage with our fans. And I appreciate Cody saying that. It's something we work very hard at. I want to make sure that we're as customer service oriented as we possibly can be, because again, I know people work very, very hard for their money. I want to make sure that if they choose to come to Atlanta Motor Speedway, they have a great experience.
Yeah, and as someone who's been in the infield over the last few years, I can say that you guys have the cleanest bathroom and showers of any of these tracks that I've been to so far. So I just want to thank you for coming on tonight. We always ask before we let our guests go, do you have any questions for us?
Wow. I appreciate that. I've never had anybody ask me if I have any questions for them. No, you know, I truly don't, or at least none I can think of right now. I would just ask you, Alex, that, you know, as you do this podcast, if you hear things that your fans and viewers and listeners can think of that we can do better, let me know. You know, it's always nice to hear the things that you do right, but where we get better is hearing the things that we can do better. And that's what's important to me. So as you hear things, let me know. I appreciate the opportunity for coming on tonight. You know, your dad's been really good to me for years. I've seen you grow up, and I'm thankful to be able to come on with you guys tonight. Hopefully everybody will come out and join us for the Folds of Honor Quick Trip 500. Go to AtlantaMotorspeedway.com. Check out all of the options we have. And I don't care if you're in Wyoming or you're in Pennsylvania, you're going to miss out if you're not at Atlanta Motor Speedway this weekend.
Yeah, and I can say with sad hearts, I've got to work this weekend. So this is going to be the first race that I've missed other than the COVID race ever since I was old enough to go to the track with my dad. So I'm really bummed about that. But I can tell you this, Brandon, I am trying, and my dad is trying. We are trying our darndest to get the three guys sitting above me on this chat to our house so that we can have them all go in July to the race. So we'll hopefully see all four of us then in July. Thank you so much for coming on, and go follow AMS updates on Twitter and Brandon Hutt 72 as well if you want updates from the man himself. And thanks again so much for being on, and we'll talk to you next time.
Alex, guys, thank you very much for the opportunity. Alex, I'm proud of you putting this thing together. It's been great to see you grow up. And listen, I should be done with you. You're not coming to our race this weekend. That's inexcusable, man. You can call in sick. There's so many things that you could do to make your way to Atlanta Motor Speedway. I don't even want to hear it. Don't say a word, Alex. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you guys.
Listen, okay.
Thank you guys for having me. No, I said don't say a word, Alex. I don't want to hear it.
I'm gonna get put.
Chad, text your son. I don't want to hear it. Don't talk back.
Okay. How about this? I'll go on the doghouse for you this weekend. I'm gonna get off work at 12 noon, and I'm gonna fly up 3 hours from Phoenix City, Alabama, and be there. You think I can make it?
It's a hop, skip, and a jump. You're not in Wyoming.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Listen, thank y'all very much. Y'all have a good night.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Man, that was incredible. What a good guy. I've known Brandon since I was I don't even know what year it is. 2009, so probably 13 years of my life. So really, really happy that he came on tonight. It is so cool to see the podcast grow to a point that we have track presidents. Obviously, with my dad, we've got a little bit of leeway to get him on, but to have a track presidents come on the show is very, very, very awesome. I think that's a big step for us, and we're looking forward to the future. But this is Fan Fuel. We are fueled by fans. We do want you guys to chime in as well, and we're not done tonight.
No, we are not.
Despite the fact that we have had a awesome 30 minutes with Brandon, we have got a lot of stuff to talk about, and we talked about the Phoenix race. We're going to hold open discussion. Last couple of weeks, I have been dealing with some mental and physical health problems, so we haven't had shows. I thought I had COVID last week, wound up not having COVID last week, canceled the show anyways because I couldn't breathe, basically. But I'm back. We had a hell of a show so far. We're going to talk about Las Vegas that we didn't get a chance to last week, and that is the last intermediate that we saw. And go ahead, guys. Open floor for all things Vegas, trucks, Xfinity,
let's
and
go.
clubs.
Well, first of all, I want to say that the Vegas race was really good. You know, that was the first intermediate race that I actually look forward to in a long time without the 550 package. And I thought that the racing between Kyle Busch and Truex was really good toward the end of that race. I wish that the caution didn't come out because I think it would have been really fun to watch. I was impressed because I thought Truex had it at first. You know, he got around the 18. I was like, all right, that's it. But he was able to cross him back over, and they were still racing. And I think it would have been pretty much down to the last lap if it wasn't for that caution. So I think that was a really good race. Like, I enjoyed that.
Yeah, it was nice to see Truex wasn't stuck behind dirty air and couldn't even pass or anything. So if we have the old package, cool. that race doesn't happen. It's Kyle Busch takes off and doesn't have any issues. But that was cool. That reminded me of like an old school intermediate track, and like you just said, like that's one of the few times I've actually been like excited to see an intermediate race, because I did like the last couple years the 550. I'm like, oh, we're going to a 550 track. That Las Vegas week, I'm like, all right, Auto Club was good. Las Vegas, I think it's going to be really good. So now I have that like expectation. Like we're going to go to like whenever we go to like Homestead or whenever we go to. Honestly, I'm excited for the Coke 600. To be honest with you, like I think that's going to be a really good race.
Can I address the Alex Bowman fans out here?
Oh boy, it's going to be good.
That A, he is not the best Hendrick Motorsports driver. He's not even top 3. Okay. B is that we can call Alex Bowman lucky, and
without calling him bad.
Right. He can still be a good driver and incredibly lucky. Like I said, that he picks up all the luck that Denny Hamlin drops all over the place. Right. Because holy crap, I have never seen someone be in the perfect spot at the perfect time to nab so many wins like he does.
Keselowski was up there too for a couple of years, but it seems like he pretty much transferred that luck all to Bowman. It's like he just passed the torch.
Listen, I'm going to say what I've got to say about Alex Bowman, and I love the guy. Sometimes it's a coin toss on whether or not he's going to be a plank or my favorite personality in the garage. But I love Alex Bowman. I think he's a great race car driver. I was 100% behind him getting into that 88 car for Dale Jr. and then swapping over to the 48. I love him. But this dude has not won a single race in that 48 car. He has just so happened to be leading at the right time.
I mean, he did have Dover. I'll give him Dover. Like that was legit.
I won't. Kyle Larson led like 300 laps.
Yeah, but they were running identical lap times, so it's pretty much whoever got out of the pits first was going to win that race.
Exactly. He did not win that race. His pit crew won that race. The only race that he ever won was the Cincinnati 88 scheme at Auto Club.
He won Chicago too. Like
I'll give him Chicago again too.
Okay.
Like I'll give him the Dover one too, just because I think that he had to do it for 100 laps. Like it's not like his pit crew got him out there for a green white checker. He had to lead 100 laps, and it was not 550 either. Like it was 750 package. So I'll give him that one too. It's just he's incredibly lucky. Like I don't mean to disrespect the guy at all. So I don't know. I think like Jared was saying, it's gonna get old if he makes a T-shirt every single time someone says something that's like not even offensive, like just a random radio quote.
Here's what I'll add with that. Like I heard on Chairgate and podcast, I think Rattlesnake said that he was like, it'd be different if Bowman was like the guy who'd like, smoked a cigarette or something, Victor Alien, or was just like a complete badass, but he's like the most melatonin, like happy-go-lucky type of guy after he wins. Like it'd be different if you're like that, and that that'd be kind of cool, but he doesn't really like have anything to back his shit talk up,
Right. So he's got the snarky sarcasm, and he's got great humor, but he gets out of the car and he's like, yeah, well, we won. It was a good race. Thanks to my guys and this 48 Allied crew. We wound up being the best car out there.
I feel
today,
like
even though,
something interesting that Colton just pointed out in the chat is that Hendrick is the racing brand NASCAR teams. And there was something interesting that there was a Dinner with Racers episode with Alex Bowman that was supposedly really fun, really interesting. And apparently Hendrick's PR team got to it. It took it down to where you can only find it on certain websites online. You cannot find it on Apple Podcasts anymore because apparently the Hendrick PR team got too upset that there were some things in there that were maybe not professional. He was just having a good time. But the Hendrick PR team said, no, we don't like that. And there's that. I think their PR team has a lot to do with why the drivers are, they're having to be a certain way.
And we've seen that from Hendrick. We've seen that. I mean, those guys have basically been bland since Mr. Vanilla himself, Jimmy Johnson, was on the point. And I'm sorry, but these guys have personality. Let them show it. Sponsors are going to flock to where the numbers are, and the numbers are the fans that support these guys. And the fans are not going to flock to guys that have the personality of a plank unless their name is Elliott. I mean,
teenagers will, just because teenagers, I do want to point out, Cody, you're fucking wrong. Okay.
Here we go.
Alex Bowman is anything but consistent. Okay, he has talent. I am not knocking him at all. He is a very talented driver. I think he deserves a ride in the Cup. I think he deserves his ride in the 48. That's awesome. You would have to go back to the 1970s to find a driver with 4 wins who finished lower than 13th in points. And Alex Bowman finished 14th last year. He had an atrocious average finish.
That's pretty crazy.
Proves our point that he backed into those wins because he wasn't in the top 10 of drivers in the laps led. He was mediocre all year and just kind of happened into the wins.
Like, I'll be honest, I think 2020 was a better year for him than 2021 because he had like an actually consistent playoff run to where he was one of the better cars in the playoffs. It's just people kind of flocked to his wins in 2021. And I remember after Martinsville, I think a lot of his fans came from because he wrecked an unpopular driver in Hamlin. I don't think that if he had turned the 5 or turned the 9, I don't think that he would have been celebrated for that. I think that people would have been cheering for the guy he wrecked. But because it was Hamlin that got wrecked, people were happy that he wrecked him, and people were mad at Hamlin for being wrecked, which is something I've never seen before.
So yeah, I don't know.
I feel like
anyway, let's get off the Bowman hate.
Yeah.
I think it's time for me to say something that I said when we introduced the next gen car, and that you guys all doubted, and that was that this car was going to make intermediate racing fun again, and it was going to be the best thing that happened to NASCAR since we went to the COT. Every one of you guys said that you weren't. Look, you don't trust NASCAR. I understand you didn't trust NASCAR because of the 550 package, because of the All-Star package that we ran because 2017.
Everything indicated they wanted to go the opposite direction.
But I told you, if done right, this would be the best racing that we've seen in NASCAR in the past 15 years. And I think so far, even the Phoenix race, the 5 races we've seen with this package, that is a true statement.
I think it's true. I just think that we gotta hold our horses for a little bit. It's only been a few races, so I'm just trying to take it easy, temper my expectations.
I'm hoping we don't get to the end of the season. Sorry.
Go ahead, Jared. Nope.
Oh, I was gonna say, I'm hoping we don't get to like the middle of the season and then like all the top teams figure it out and everything's just back to normal. Where it's.
I mean, I don't care if the same guys win. I just want good racing. Like that's all I need.
Well, that's what we're having. We still got to get Fox to show the shit, but that's a whole
we
other
need
rant
to talk about Fox's pre-race stuff while we're at
we
it.
might as well get into the Fox issues.
We need to get on them right now.
Go ahead.
I don't know if you guys saw the pre-race skits that Fox does that have nothing to do with the racing. They're just like skits of Bob Pockris in a nightclub or whatever. So I don't even know what the point is.
How he was holding that champagne glass?
Yeah.
Like by the stem, like.
Listen. Here's the thing. Don't trash Bob. Bob is.
I'm not trashing Bob. I'm just saying.
Bob is
blame Fox for getting this stuff. I don't even know what they're trying to say. Like Fox is just, we want to try and be funny. It's like, well, you could just talk about the race that's coming up in a couple hours. So, like, why not that?
Fans aren't stupid, but they have been treating us like we're stupid since 2013. I don't know when. I guess a production member changed or something that made it
Digger.
to where we weren't.
Digger
era was still fine. They were having fun on Sunday in the booth, but Saturday for practice and Sunday pre-race in the Hollywood Hotel and everything, we were getting stories of the week.
Right.
We were getting
that's fair.
We were getting insights to what people did during the practice sessions, and we were getting insights for the race. We were getting trends from the track type, all this good stuff that we're not getting pre-race anymore. And I know that people want to be entertained, and sports in and of itself is entertainment. But race fans, while we might look like dumb rednecks, are not stupid. We like data. We like analytics. We like knowing what's going to happen and trying to figure out what's going to happen before it does. We like seeing trends. We like seeing the stories that happen before us, not the ones that you have to create. No one cares about that party scene or Clint Boyer and whoever's the co-host this week racing around the parking lot on a right. We don't care about that stuff.
Or like at
we
Auto
want
Club.
genuine.
Oh yeah, what happened to
Auto Club? Auto Club Xfinity race. There's that red flag, so they're like, "Oh, let's take Regan Smith to the playground, and he's going to go down the slide." Like,
that I'm fine with, because how much are you going to fill in coverage wise in that lengthy red flag? You can't talk to drivers like in a rain delay. I'm all right with that one.
I got another one.
But that was not staged. That was just something like, okay, we're going to make fun of Regan because he just ran the whole length of pit road. So now he's going to go do some other wild shit, go down the slide. That was fine.
Another, I guess, rant, we've probably all had this, but it's like they're onboards and they're zoomed in shots. You know how Austin Dillon got wrecked in the final corner of the race, right? Somebody turned him, and we didn't even see it until a minute later with the replay because he was in 9th place. They were so zoomed in on Chase Briscoe that we couldn't even see the 9th place car get wrecked in front of the whole field. Like, we can't just focus on one car when there's like a whole pack of cars coming to the finish line.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, that's just crazy.
They do that mid-race during battles with turn. They'll be in a turn and they'll zoom in on one guy while there's another guy on the top side trying to pass him. It's ridiculous. They go to those freaking onboard shots that tell me nothing all the time, and the shots on the walls, those are for replays and crank it up.
Right.
Any other time, I can't feed in any information other than what this big, my 16:4 or whatever the 16:9 picture is on my flat screen TV.
See, NBC
is nothing but one single car. That tells me nothing.
NBC does onboards tastefully. Like, they'll show them at the right time, but they don't just shove them in your face.
I do want to point out, for anyone listening, a guy named Brock Beard. He is probably my favorite YouTuber right now. Mm-hmm. He does have a new series where he highlights the problems with the broadcast and where they kind of turned from. My biggest thing is I hate how there's no play-by-play. It's all in the booth explaining what the cars are doing and explaining shit that should be explained either during pre-race or during cautions or during practice. Practice was the perfect time for that. Not during the race. There's no play-by-play anymore. There's no, so-and-so's coming to the inside. He's going to try to clear him right here. It's, he's wheeling the car and he's trying to get it to stick. And I hate that. So go check out Brock Beard.
Okay.
He does have great points he makes and why it's terrible.
But the reason that is because there's nobody to balance that that booth out.
I agree.
Because Clint Boyer is a driver. That's all he knows how to do. I'm not going to fault him for that.
Yeah,
I am going to fault him for
a little bit
being
crazy
the default booth the booth clown that has replaced DW, and that's Fox's fault again because we don't see that when NBC comes. But there's no one there to balance out the booth. We need Larry Mack back in the booth because he's going to provide those strategy calls and everything. And Mike Joy needs to be let free to do his thing because that was his thing.
Yeah.
But before I go down and
we got to
even
get into
bitter,
that too.
I need to talk about something. They have a rotating booth. Tony Stewart, amazing. Jeff Gordon's coming back for Atlanta. He was okay in the booth. He's probably going to be better than the last 2 weeks. Danica Patrick, I have no problem with you, but come on. You are an IndyCar driver. You should not have been in the booth. I don't fault you for coming. You probably had fun. I'm sure probably what have you. The only time I was learning anything from you, you were talking about IndyCar. Go to Texas this weekend. Oh, my God.
You remember when they had Rusty Wallace call the Indy 500 and he mistakenly called it the Daytona 500 a few years ago? Like, that's kind of what it reminded me of.
Exact same thing. So when we got NASCAR analysis from Danica Patrick, she sounded like an idiot. And I'm not going to sugarcoat that.
I forgot to.
She was contradicting stuff that Clint was saying, not understanding stuff that Mike Joy was saying. And I realized that you raced in NASCAR, but obviously nothing stuck. I don't mind you being in the booth. You have a place there, but by God, please be at Texas this weekend with the Indy cars, not ever in a NASCAR.
The funny part is she didn't know what a Polish victory lap was.
That was funny.
I was like, you've raced in NASCAR for how many years and you don't know what that is?
I don't know if anyone caught it. I think it was at the Las Vegas race. I think Ricky Stenhouse Jr. was in the top 10. Mike Joy was like, "Oh, we got Ricky Stenhouse Jr. in the top 10." And I think there's like this awkward silence between everyone.
Yeah.
And she's like, "Yeah." I don't know if anyone caught that or.
She just seemed to go on like tangents that had nothing to do with the racing, and it's like.
And like she gave so much good insight to IndyCar racing, but it's a NASCAR broadcast. I will not fault the fact that she was talking about stuff about IndyCar that I was learning from it. I was like, oh, well, this is neat. But then again, I'm not watching IndyCar racing. I'm watching stock.
Like there were correlations that sometimes, like the only major correlation I found was like they thought that she was the pioneer of letting go of the steering wheel and all that stuff. And other than that, in the flat bottom cars, it's like there wasn't really anything in common. So I don't really understand it.
Yeah. DBC made a good point this week. I think it was Brett Griffin who said that Danica would be perfect doing something like what Michael Waltrip does or like what Parker Kligerman does. Get her out, market her for what? I mean, she is a great marketing tool. She is not great in the booth. You need to get her out.
That's pretty obvious.
Yeah, people can see Danica. She's not going to do good sitting up in the suite behind that glass pane.
Yeah. And I think she's great at presenting. She has done Indy 500s for the last 4 years, and it has been phenomenal pre-race coverage on NBC from her and the other guys. I can't think of the guy's name that does all the NBC big events.
Mike Tirico.
Yes, Mike Tirico. Those two have done the pre-race shows for the last 4 years that NBC's had the Indy 500, and they've been phenomenal. But I can agree that she's not for the NASCAR booth. Put her in the IndyCar booth. Let me see how she does. I think the insight that we got during that Las Vegas race about IndyCar races and about IndyCars makes me think she would be a perfect addition to the NBC booth for an IndyCar race.
Maybe that's why she brought up so many. Maybe she did that on purpose, and maybe they'll be like, "Oh, she might be a good IndyCar analyst," because maybe that's what she actually wants to do.
NBC rotates analysts, so I would love to see her be a pit reporter one week and then James be a pit reporter the next week, and they swap the booth just like they do with Letarte and Burton and Dale Jr. They're always rotating. So I love NBC's coverage. It's so much better.
Like they're refreshing, man. Like that's just
they take it seriously. As much as I hate their commercials and their Peacock stuff, they take it a lot more seriously.
They take it more seriously than Fox.
Yes, like they actually treat it like a real sport.
But they do dramatize the playoffs a lot more. So
they do. Thing. Like they're not as they're a little bit crazy, but I'd rather have that than the other way around.
I can't imagine Fox covering the playoffs.
Oh my God, we'd have like a skit every race. There was like a Breaking Bad skit at Fontana, and
I think
it's just bad.
I could get over probably the lack of play-by-play if the broadcasters didn't get bored 3 laps after a restart.
Yeah.
It seems like they want fans to expect every lap to be a pass for the lead or to be a 6-wide restart, because as soon as they start to stretch out and you see actual strategy come into play, the booth dies. And that's like,
where's my 8-wide racing?
After restart, yeah.
And that's where Steve Letarte and Larry McReynolds come into play.
Yep.
That's where drivers who know how to drive as a race manager, like a Dale Jr., like a Mark Martin, like a Tony Stewart, would be profoundly better in the booth. Jeff Burton himself is
another one.
Is a great race manager. Clint was never a race manager. Clint was just a race car driver. Yeah. He's always just been a race car driver. And I'm not taking away that he can't drive a car, but the reason he didn't succeed nearly as much as he probably could have with the talent that he has in NASCAR is because he wasn't a race manager. Look at Joey Logano in the booth. Fantastic. Look at Ryan Blaney even in the booth. Fantastic.
No, those aren't even guys I would consider race managers either.
Yeah.
Right.
So, I mean, you got to get people who know what they're doing and can explain to people why they're doing it. I think I would argue that Joe Logano is definitely a race manager. As he's matured, he has been managing races a lot better. Ryan Blaney is probably
not yet.
Probably going to be the greatest talent in the grid once he hits his prime, because he is a very smart and calculated driver.
I feel like I'm kind of the opposite. Like, I feel like Chase Elliott was smarter. He got to that level quicker. He might not have as much raw talent as Blaney, but I think Chase Elliott matured quicker, if that makes sense. He drove like a veteran
but we haven't seen these guys in their primes yet. I'm sure that Blaney in his prime is going to be better than Chase Elliott in his.
Right. I just think that Chase Elliott will be better on a consistent basis outside of those 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
You get Blaney and then
we had
and I think
I do want to kind
of like settle down. That's the biggest thing, probably.
Yeah. Let's rein it back in. I do want to appreciate that we did, like Jared said earlier, have a classic NASCAR race at Las Vegas. It was fantastic. Seeing the 18 get trashed in practice, rebuild, and have multiple problems during the race and come back was something that I think we all would have appreciated to see him win. Had the Eric Jones caution not have, happen. But what did you guys see at Vegas in the trucks or the Xfinity Series?
Honestly, not much. Like, I don't think there was anything crazy in trucks or Xfinity. It was just, whatever, Ty Gibbs wins. So,
yeah. So you said there was nothing crazy. Let's talk about how Ty Gibbs took out Ryan Sieg on lap 2.
Oh, yeah.
No, here we go. You guys, he did not take him out. He did not take him out.
It's lap 4. You don't need to be packing air on a guy on lap 4.
Right. It's lap 2. He needs to be smart, and I think he will. He needs to be smarter about when to race that hard. And I'm sure that he will. He's going to be a great driver.
He is a young kid, and he is 19 now, maybe 18 still, probably. I don't know. He is still young. He is in the Xfinity Series. Ryan Sieg is a veteran and should not have come that far down on him in turn 1, knowing what you're racing against. No.
So he was clear. So how come he shouldn't come down?
He was not. He was not clear. He needs to be giving room as well.
What happened is Ty Gibbs, or he was clear, and Ty Gibbs just drove in there and started packing air on him and got him loose. He didn't just enter on the middle.
Yeah, well, he also made himself look like an ass later on.
Right,
in the race.
I'm not denying that.
So
he did, but that also doesn't justify Ty Gibbs racing like that on lap 2.
It's a racing incident. Ty Gibbs is going to go where Ty Gibbs wants, because he's never been in that part of, anything where he's not going to be wrong. He's got to learn that, yeah. But also, Ryan Sieg should know that, hey, I got a hard ass on me that thinks he's God on the racetrack. So
give him space and let him think that he's God,
I should give him half a lane, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
He couldn't have been nearly as mad as he was about that.
Yeah, so just give him space and let him think that he can run through everyone. I think that's fair.
I think that was a two-party.
Right. It's
at the 50-50 at fault.
It's just I hope that Ty Gibbs smart stuff because I don't want everybody to just get out of Ty Gibbs' way because that's how racing becomes horrible. Like it's if everybody got out of Dale Earnhart's way, the 1990s probably wouldn't have been that good.
Nobody's going to get out of Ty Gibbs' way on.
No, that's what you're saying though. That's what you're saying.
No, it's not. Nobody's going to get out of Ty Gibbs' way if it's lap 154 out of 163, right? But on lap 2, if you know that there is a kid that is still learning and is still thinking that he's going to race like he is on the last lap on lap 2, you need to be the guy as the veteran driver, the guy that owns your own stuff.
That was the first corner that they were racing around each other. He couldn't have just. I mean, I get thinking ahead. You got a spotter and you've got but at the same time, they were.
Because you've been in the racing so long.
They were right there in that corner. You know, you can't make a decision in 2 seconds like that. You got to think a couple corners ahead before that.
Yeah, Alex, I'm 180 degrees from you. I understand what situation Ty's in. I understand what situation Ryan's in.
Right.
But if I'm the veteran, I'm going to say that I'm not going to give this kid room on lap 2 because he doesn't know how to race.
Make this kid
learn.
Like he needs to be smart. Like make.
But you've also got to protect your equipment.
Right, I understand that.
So
but
him racing him as hard as
protecting my equipment isn't worrying about what that guy's going to do. It's trusting that he is going to give me the
that he's not stupid. Yeah,
right.
Have you raced around Ty Gibbs yet? In Ty Gibbs' short career, have you raced around him? Because drivers always talk about building trust, right? If you haven't raced around the guy, you give him more room. So if he thought he had
I understand
any inclination that he had,
it's just if
it
was lap 2, and they had and Ty Gibbs had just got to him, they hadn't raced for the entirety of the race because it was lap 2. He can't just predict laps ahead if it's lap 2 of a race. Like he's got to have time to process and say, hey, I need an escape route. You know, lap 2, you can't think of an escape route early.
You can also not chop off somebody's nose. And even if he was clear, he was only clear enough to where he got the air packed on him. I'm sorry. They both put themselves into that situation.
I'm pretty sure they were both on the bottom. No, I'm pretty sure they were both on the bottom and Ty Gibbs just drove it in there. Yeah. Like, I don't think he came down. It's just he made C get loose to where it looks like he came down, but he was on the bottom and just got pushed off the bottom with the air. You know, like it was a little bit. I mean, I'm not saying it was terrible. It just seems suspect to race like that.
He wasn't on the line, but he didn't come down a lane. He didn't even come down. He was there. Yeah, he was in that line.
Okay. Anyways, it was a racing incident. I think
I'm not saying it wasn't. It was just avoidable.
Everyone took a 180-degree turn on Ty Gibbs and said that he was a rich kid with a silver spoon up his ass. I'm complaining on Twitter because he trashed the 36. But I think that both drivers could have done a little bit different. I really do. I think they were both equally at fault, and it was just a racing.
I don't know about equally. Like it's just at the same time when the attacking car and the defending car is clear. I read this in a book somewhere about racing etiquette. It's like if you're the attacking car and that guy is all the way ahead of you, it's your fault if you get in a crash. Most of the time, it's usually your fault.
So truck race, Jared.
Truck racing. I'll be honest, I didn't watch the Xfinity race on Saturday. I think I was at some basketball games, but I did get to watch the truck race on that Friday night. And the thing that stuck out to me was actually kind of interesting because, like, I kind of saw more people like side with Kyle Busch on what happened in the situation, and rightfully so. I mean, you look at the one like the straight ahead angle, you see Christian Eckes cut him off the whole way through and just basically wreck himself. And I thought the truck race was pretty good. I did too, but like I figured like as soon as I saw that happen, like, oh boy, Kyle Busch is going to get roasted. Even after I saw the interviews, then I go on Twitter and see the comments, like, all right, that's something I never thought I'd hear.
Yeah, so I will say this: the truck race at Las Vegas is probably the best truck race of the year, all the time. I mean, they always, for whatever reason, when they go out there in the spring at Las Vegas, they put on a hell of a show. They're just passing all through the field, and we saw that on Friday night. I really appreciated the truck race. There was some stuff that happened, though, that I didn't see. No one really saw. NASCAR didn't even see it. There was a truck on that last green-white checker that was inside of the turn 3 wall all the way off the racetrack. stopped. What do you guys think about them racing the complete white flag with a truck that was stopped there on the green white checker on the first of the 2 laps?
It's just
Being
weird, I
that
think.
I'm trying to brown nose my way into maybe some pit passes at an SMI track, I'm going to bite my tongue.
Because as someone who's been on the flag stand or been in a race directing position, sometimes you can't see cars. Sometimes you don't know.
I feel like I wasn't on the flag stand as much as race control. Like, don't they have a bunch of cameras like pointing everywhere?
Right. So when you're at a short track, you got what you can see basically, right?
Yeah.
You can't see the bottom of 2 or the bottom of 3 if you're on the flag stand. And if you're in the tower, you might be able to see a little bit more, but there's still hiding spots for wrecked cars to go. We don't have the ability, other than people on the track, to radio us to see any of that stuff, right? The drivers can't radio us. The spotters or teams can't radio us because those things don't exist. But in NASCAR, they do. And like you guys said, there's cameras. I just think this is a big mistake, and we got lucky that nothing happened.
Right.
Just caution, consistency. It's the same stuff we talk about every week, it seems like.
Yeah, I mean, it is just a blunder. I know they have a camera that shows that, and they have to have a spotter down in that corner. I understand you may not see him slide to the inside because you're trying to watch the pack and watch that. But at some point, you're going to have to scan back over. And I get it's dark, but that part of the track is still lit. They don't have dark spots in any of these tracks that NASCAR will go to. So, I mean, it was just kind of a shitty deal all around. And he was injured, which makes it even worse.
Yeah, right.
You know, it's if he gets hit, how much more injured is he going to be? You know, it's not like he was just sitting there waiting for cars to go by so he could get out. He needed medical attention, and he did go to the hospital. I think he dislocated his shoulder, which isn't good at all.
I actually did not know that he was injured.
Yeah, it's weird. Like, it didn't look like a bad wreck, but he did say that his shoulder was dislocated, and that was it. I mean, he can still race this week, but still, it's just weird.
So there's nothing really to say on what we can do better, because I think that's self-explanatory. I think that was just the biggest oversight I've seen on it in NASCAR. But let's look at Charlotte Coke 600 weekend last year.
Oh, yeah, that was the fun one.
The Truck Series. You have a car sitting right in front of me in the restart zone on that little short chute between the first dog leg and the entrance of pit road. And he was sitting there for a good 3/4 of a lap, and then he gets hit before the caution comes out. Is it safe to say that the people who are doing the truck races don't necessarily know what they're doing?
That's funny because they called a caution like 2 seconds after a truck brushed the wall at the Daytona on last lap. Yet they don't call a caution for a truck sitting for like 2 laps. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it's almost like their eyes are glued to the actual packs or to the lead pack because they constantly miss stuff that happens in the back of the pack like this.
So you can't do that. You can't do that. Okay, so let me just, from the bird's eye view of the flag stand, my job is to make sure that the track is safe, make sure the drivers know what's going on. In NASCAR, you have teams with crew chiefs got radio, race engineers got radio, team owners got radio, and your spotters got radio. And NASCAR can talk directly to the drivers. It's only, quote-unquote, NASCAR talking to the drivers in the scenario of the short tracks I've worked at. I know where the leader is every lap because I have to count down laps. I have to know when to tell them 10-5 to go and halfway, 2 to go, and start a white flag and the checker flag. But I also am watching and listening to my peripherals the whole time. I am looking both ends of the track at the same time. If there are strung out cars, I know they're there. I have to ignore them, and I focus on packs of cars. If there's a car that I can see is struggling on entry and maybe spinning out even though he's half a lap behind the pack, I know that he's there. You have to know, and as a single person on a short track, it's difficult to do that. I realize that, but these guys have teams. They have cameras. They have 15, 16 different cameras per racetrack. They've got what they can see outside of the booth, and they've got like Colton said, they've got spotters at each end of the racetrack. They've got a guy that sits in turn 1 and 2 and sits in between turn 3 and 4, as well as the flag man, somebody that's sitting on the back straightaway, and your guys that are on pit road. There's no excuses to miss anything. There's no excuses to be focused on the leader. There should be eyes on that whole pack the whole race. If I can do it and my dad can do it as 1 or 2 people working in conjunction on the flag stand and in the tower by ourselves with 2 people, 1 person, even at some points, a group of 15 to 20 people should be able to do it, despite the fact that the tracks are bigger.
Yeah.
I agree. I did want to shout out, I don't know if you guys watched Chandler Smith's interview. He's a talented driver. One thing that I thought was pretty funny was he's in a KBM truck, and he immediately gets out and says, he's a man of God, and that's great. And he says, I'd like to thank God for this opportunity. And Kyle Busch is probably just sitting there staring at him like dude. He didn't think Kyle Busch until like the very end of his interview, but I just thought that was funny. Like, he didn't, and I get it, man of God. It was just a funny.
My man's got his priorities.
Yeah, he does, and that's more power to him. But I would have liked to give Kyle Busch a little pat on the back.
Yeah, well,
what else?
I won't get into the religion stuff, but he drove a hell of a race, man. He did.
He's talented. He's going to win a lot more before this year's over.
Yeah. What else we got? So we did Xfinity, we did trucks, we did Cup. Shoot, we got.
So all we got is the international.
Yeah, we got a big week.
Nathan, I'm gonna let you head the point on this one. What don't we have going on this weekend would be
so we got the season opener for F1, which is Sunday. I believe it's always in the morning at some time, like 9 or 10 usually. Sometimes a little bit earlier. I would probably check that beforehand so you don't miss the race. If you don't watch F1, you probably should. It's fun. It's always before NASCAR races, so you very rarely ever have schedule conflicts, unless it's once you get to that leg of the season where you're racing in Mexico, you're racing Dakota, in Brazil. But outside of that, there's no schedule conflicts with NASCAR, so it's always fun to be able to watch 2 races the same day. We got IndyCar at Texas on the same day as well. We've got the 12 hours of Sebring. We got the 1,000 miles of Sebring. We've got NASCAR at Atlanta, which is at 2:30. So we got everything.
So actually, they announced today on Twitter that race is being pushed back to 3:00, and that's for coverage for Atlanta. So I think coverage starts at 3. So I think the race is going to go green flag at either 3:16 or 3:31.
I'm not going to be able to see any of the race then.
So you guys be wary of that. If you're not watching F1, this year is a great year to start. Formula One has a new next gen. We'll throw the same slang around as we do in the NASCAR world. They've got a new car. These cars have lower profile wheels, just like we do on the next gen car in NASCAR. They have simpler aero, which is a lot more than we can say for the last few years. So they got end plates that don't have 600 winglets on them. They have really funky looking rear wings. The DRS is more powerful now because it has a bigger hole when it's being cut, and the profiles of the cars
I'll address that to Colton.
are changing a little bit. I'll let Nathan handle more of the technical side, but all I can say is this year should bring most of the field back together, and we should see a lot more overtaking than we have since the 2017 rebranding of these big, massive cars.
Yeah, I think that it'll be different. The first couple races will probably not be what you see at the end. I think it'll be some teams might not figure it out as early as the other ones. I do wish the cars were shorter, like Colton said, but it's just a problem with the hybrid engines. Like, they got to fit all this stuff in the car, and it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And the tires are bigger too, since they're 18 inches. So it feels like it's more cumbersome, probably. But that being said, I hope that the racing is good. Like, if the cars have to be big and fat, then I just hope the racing's good. Because I feel like I don't know any way to shrink them.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to it. Lower profile tires hopefully means we'll actually get some tire strategy back into F1.
Yeah, I'm hoping they did say that it'll probably be a 2-stop race. They hope, because the last couple Bahrain races have been 2 stops. That would be nice. I like multiple pit stops. They did mention that you could push the tires a little bit more, which might lead to better racing too. Other than that, I don't really know what to expect. I think that it'll probably be more of a 3-man title race with Ferrari being back in it. So that's probably my only prediction.
Yeah. And then IndyCar at Texas. IndyCar racing on ovals is phenomenal, despite the fact that Texas ruined their track surface. So
yeah,
be looking forward to that. And then Sebring, you have 2 endurance races. So basically, if you like endurance racing, you're going to get to see the best of the American style with IMSA with the 12 hours of Sebring. And then shortly thereafter, they're going to start the 1,000 miles of Sebring with the WEC for their first race of the season. So it's going to be a hell of a big time. Next week, we hope to have someone on to do a Formula One recap show and a preview show for the second round of the Australian V8 Supercars at Tasmania for the Tasmanian Super Sprint. Other than that, guys, do you have anything else to add before we sign off tonight?
Oh, man. I don't know. I'm just excited for F1, excited for IndyCar, excited for NASCAR. So I'm excited to see all the racing. I just wish I didn't have a karting event at 7 o'clock on Sunday night because I have to leave at 4:30, so I'll probably miss the entirety of the Atlanta race. So gonna suck to miss that, but I'm glad F1's back. I get my favorite driver back for their 21st season in F1, so that'll be fun.
All right. Well, if you guys are not doing anything, really quickly, I do want to shout out. I'm going to try something tonight that we haven't done here on Fans Fuel Motorsports Podcast. I've got the Wednesday night NASCAR iRacing Series race at 9 o'clock. I'm gonna shut this stream down, bump one right back up, and stream the Atlanta race, 163 laps. So if you're interested in sticking around for that, that should be up shortly. The race should be starting in about 10 minutes. So I'm going to go ahead, log off, and thank everyone for coming out tonight. Brandon Hutchinson was here for 30 minutes with us. One of the best interviews we've had. Go to Atlanta Motor Speedway this weekend if you can. I'm going to try and shoot up there after work on Sunday. I get off at noon, so wish me luck and safety on getting to the track before the green flag drops. And then everybody enjoy the racing on TV. If you're not going to make it. And thank you, as always. Follow us on our links at FanFuel MSM, capital F, capital F, capital MSM, on Twitter and Instagram and on Facebook. Thanks for the guys that tuned in tonight on YouTube. Thanks for StreamYard getting the YouTube comments working live again. Hopefully we'll have Twitter up at some point in the near future, like we did when we first started using this platform. But until then, we'll see you next week, same time. And all right, have a good one.